Dragon, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can. Thanks for coming on the show, bud.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, you've got some pretty amazing claims. Where did you want to start at?
Could start from the beginning. I mean, are you guys going to be asking questions, or
We can ask questions as we go, unless we do have some prepared questions. But it generally goes better if you just talk a little bit about your story, and we just add questions off of what you're going on.
Okay. All right, that works then.
Okay, so we did explain a little bit to the audience earlier that, so you were consciousness transferred into a human body. So I guess if you want to start with, how that happened, how that came to be.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
All right, I'm ready then. Do I have to go on the live feed too, or?
No, you don't. You can if you want, but if you do, just turn the audio off.
Okay, let me see if I can find it real quick here.
And we are live now.
Yeah, we are live now.
Okay. Hello. Where can I start?
Okay, well, why don't you tell me when you were a Draco, what you were doing before you even got swapped into the body?
First had taken place was I was a member of the Royal Council of the planet, and we had been taken over from the inside. The Empire had been basically betrayed by one of the council members. We were scattered around many of the Draconian that lived among the Empire, mainly commoners and some royals, some alpha, were basically slaughtered or enslaved by a race that was outside of the Draconian border. This race is, by detail, very tall, very thin, kind of like a metallic gray skin with like copper eyes.
What was the race's name?
They were alien to us. We don't even know what they were called.
Well, what did you guys call them?
We just called them the evil ones. It's different Draconian, but
right.
I don't really...
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
So, you were in a battle, correct? And is that how you ended up in the human body?
What had taken place was the Royal Council member who had betrayed the Empire basically was considered the the first queen. We had 3 female council members. They were all considered first, second, and third queen. She was the one that was working with the species that knew a lot more about them, and she basically decided to try to press her ruling more through the power of doing so with this, but it all turned on her as well. But I and several others had led a resistance against this one and against the invaders themselves, but we had attempted to escape using what humans call the Stargate portal technology, like I had told you earlier, that we ended up failing and we got enslaved, and then from there it went on to the Andromeda and the Orion Wars.
Okay, so were you still at that point fighting for the resistance, or were you captured?
A few of my squad members, including myself, were actually captured by these grayskin beings, and we were turned into say mind slaves. They were basically experimented on people that were super soldiers, just basically, I can't pronounce it. These, when we were turned into these super soldiers, these mind puppets, basically, we were forced into like pods and things like that, experimented on.
So
kind of like, I'm sorry.
It would be similar, would you say, to like the human MK Ultra My Lab experience?
Yeah, similar to it. It's that they kind of like in between that and basically different injections.
Right.
Kind of like how the handler system is, in a way.
Okay, so now did you escape from that situation, or how did
it was during the Orion Wars. We had broke free. One of my squad members is actually in the audience right now, and when we broke free, we basically took over what they had, their technology, their ships and everything. However, we got ambushed and we were forced out of the areas that we were, and we had ran for the nearby forest, and that's where that was basically our final stand, and we didn't make it. That's how we ended up coming to here.
Okay, can you tell me about the process of coming to here, like what all that entails?
Was it punishment?
To some, maybe. For me, it was like a mistake. Coming here was, the process of doing so is basically when your body dies, or a Draconian body dies. Their soul is trapped in kind of like a purgatory state where you don't go to another, like an afterlife realm or, something like that. You end up sticking around till you can find a body that is suitable to basically inhabit, which usually means one that's been recently dead or one that's actually dying. And with certain beings that are what they call walk-ins or body transfusers. Some even call them the body snatchers, things like that. There are those out there that will forcefully take a body. Even in a dream state, a human body can be taken.
Okay, so you ended up in a child, right?
Yeah. Willingly.
And the child was dying from the complications of a surgery, or?
Poison had rushed through the whole body, shut down the heart, and was pretty much a close call.
Okay, so after you regained yourself in this human form, you obviously retain your memories of your past existence as a Draconian?
Yes.
And you said that you'd reached out to some people that were in your squad that ended up here as well?
Yeah, 2 of them.
And did they recall everything as well?
The other one is actually still learning where she was, who she was, basically still questioning as to why she's here as well.
Right, so it's not what you're saying is it's not a given that you're going to remember everything from your prior existence when this happens as a Draco?
During the beginning, it's kind of like having a spiritual awakening. You learn stuff over time. You don't necessarily learn it like overnight or have it when you rise from the dead to say per se.
Right. And did you retain the memories of the human body you inhabited it in, or not have any at all?
No, I have retained no memory of the prior existence.
So, how did that play out with the family? Like, you were a child, so did the parents notice a difference? I mean, how exactly did they just think you'd lost your memory from the poison?
The one did actually. She began to question why I had become more different. Like if it was more aggressive, why I was a little bit more aggressive, why I was getting more darker, why I was, changing the way I was. But, I mean, it's hard to play the role of one being to another, but, I mean, it's easier to blend in when certain questions don't have to be answered.
Right. So, what was the process like? I mean, you were did you have any knowledge of human culture or anything, or you just kind of dropped in with, not knowing anything about your surroundings?
Having to figure it all out the hard way.
I had to figure it out the hard way. There are some Draconian who have come here and still come here who do know about humans and different cultures and things dealing with humanity. This is my first time actually physically being on this planet.
But you were aware of it before at all, or not at all?
Aware of the planet's existence before?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just not of the cultures and belief systems and, governmental systems, things like that on it.
Okay, so tell me about the Draco Empire. What groups was it made of? Were they all reptilian? Was it some reptilian? Was it a mixed bag?
The old Draconian Empire was made of about 3 different primary races of Draconian, and, well, they were more like a caste than a race. The Royals, the Alpha, the Common, and then you also had some factions of Palladian, some factions of Andromedan, even some Orions that had actually once been with the old empire until that split into 2.
We've got a question from the YouTube chat. I don't know if you have the answer to this or not, but they're asking, are the Draconians responsible for the Mayans disappearing via Mayan stargates?
We have actually been in contact with the Mayan people, not myself per se, but Draconians older than what I am that have been here before during the ancient civilizations who have actually showed ancient peoples these technologies such as the crystal skulls, the crystal stargate, the crystals powering weapons and certain things like that. So they've had influence over it. I mean, there's even been some well-known divine characters that have played a role that are also partial Draconian.
Right. Feathered serpent and all that.
Yeah.
Now, you told me in a previous conversation that the Draconians that you're from, you said it was somewhere in the Orion star belt, like in the lower corner. This is separate from the Draconians that people know on Earth, so that's like a breakaway kind of clan.
Yeah, a lot of the Draconians of the old empire, the ones who basically stirred up a lot of trouble within our empire, is actually residing here on Earth in a human body, and the majority of them do play roles in certain political as well as certain corporate matters, I want to say, but they're not. Some are aware, some are not aware. Like I had said before, I'm not one to say that all Draconians are evil, but I'm also not one to say that all Draconians are good.
Right. You do kind of hear a bad rap whenever people are talking about, Draconians or Dracos or, any type of reptilian species. Now, there is one thing I wanted to talk to you with about. Now, there are more than one species of reptilian, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so how many of these would you say that there are out there?
As far as we've come across, there is at least well known about 6 different types. However, there's up to anywhere between 72 to 104 different species of not just pure reptilian, but half hybrids, mixtures, mixed bloods.
Okay. And how many, to your knowledge, would you say are different species are operating here on Earth in the general vicinity?
To my knowledge, there is at least I want to say about 6.
6. Now,
Who is it that we heard that there were like 38 or like 42 different species of extraterrestrials?
are you all right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I remember we heard somebody saying that he'd encountered like 50 something odd different species of reptilian.
Yeah, it was like 57.
Offworlders.
It was, but that we're talking about in this area.
In the SSP.
We're talking about in this area, not like in general.
Oh, okay. You mean like within like 50
Working
this
in
area, like 50
The
like
solar
years of Earth?
system, like the solar system in Earth. Okay, so well, tell us about the Draconian Empire that you were part of. What was your culture like? Did you have art, music? Was there games? How was the caste system broken up? And what were the different? I'm sorry, I know that's a lot of pieces to a question. You can address whichever ones that you want.
I'm not really, like I said, I was part of the Royal Draconian. I'm not really too knowledgeable about the common Draconian because we had this. It's not really a law, but it was kind of like a system of a lot of us didn't really talk to the lower, and the lower didn't really talk to the higher. It was kind of I don't know what to say, but I mean, I've talked to quite a few of them, but
Okay.
the Draconian Empire itself, we had art, we had science, we had metaphysics, we had music, the caste system basically went from Royal Dracos, which were the council members, usually the members of the Council of the Seven or the members of royal blood. They weren't, unlike the difference from them and humans is they weren't incest. Human royalty normally is,
Right.
incest heritage. The Alpha Draconian were the military branches, the soldiers, the ones who basically did all the protecting, which some of the Royal Draconian and Alpha Draconian actually did like 2 different jobs there between it. The common Draconian were basically the civilian Draconian who lived throughout the cities, forests, different areas of the world. Culture itself, like I said, we had about 3 different type of theology religions. One was based around science, one was based around metaphysics and pantheonistic, and the other one, for those that were knowledgeable about the human race, were knowledgeable about humans, was actually taken from a few philosophies and things from some of the more newer human belief systems like Catholicism, Buddha, Hindu, things like that.
Okay, so all right. I guess I need to go up into my question board here. Dan, didn't you have a question about the birth process?
Actually, yeah. Well, I was curious. Does the Draco species do they give live birth like humans, or do they legs, or how does that work?
They lay eggs.
Cool.
Now, is it like male and female Draconians, just random male and female Draconians, and they have kids, or is it like a like a queen type deal where only a few of the females, or maybe one, have offspring?
Depends. Some royalty tends to be polygamous, others tend to be monogamous. Often it's not really just one female has all the young ones. It's pretty much kind of like just your regular family.
Okay.
I mean, we have marriage rights and things like that as well.
Now, the royal Dracos, would you say they differed in appearance than the regular Dracos? Or the lower caste?
Yeah, the royal Dracos often have the longer horns or the longest tails. The females are usually the ones that have the wings. They tend to be a bit larger than the alpha or the common.
But that's all. They're not a different color or anything like that.
No, there's many different colors between all three factions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what would be the most common color?
The most common color is usually red, green, and sometimes gray.
Now, did that cause any type of, here on Earth we've got racism between the different races? Did that cause any kind of thing like that in Draco?
No, we have all passed that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's very sure. What else can you tell us about the culture's art or music or culture? Or...
Yeah, music specifically. I mean, is it a percussive type thing? I mean, was there other instruments besides like drums and stuff like that?
Drums were a common thing among the Draconian, mainly use of war or like celebration of marriage or birth, things. Other instruments we have they're like really long, kind of like bone, but I want to say they kind of resemble a human, sort of a trumpet, but it's made of bone and wood, and it sounds like a person screaming.
So it's like a blown instrument?
Yeah. Our music often tends to be violent and sort of, because as I said, we are somewhat of we can be an invasive or a military type of race, so we're kind of just...
Yeah, Draconians do have a reputation that precedes them. I mean, I think a lot of it is, like you said, these soul transfers happening and, them getting into powers and influence. It's just like any other race. They have bad actors, they have good actors, and, I think that's probably where the whole shape-shifting reptilian thing comes from, is what you're talking about here with this, like, it's quasi-reincarnation thing.
The shapeshifters, actually, people base them around these things that they see on TV, where the TV flashes and all of a sudden the person on the TV's eyes go, slitted or whatever. I kind of wanted to talk a bit about that too. A lot of people tend to get in mind that the newscasters or something like that, they're these shape-shifting, evil, draconian, reptilian beings.
Yeah, please
That's
do.
nothing but tinfoil hat conspiracy right there. I mean, the eyes on the Draconian are not necessarily always slit like a cat's eye. Sometimes it can be round, other times it can be, no pupil at all.
So you would say that all those is just wild conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I mean, shape-shifting normally, I would say that spiritually, yeah, there can be a shape-shifting. You can appear in a spiritual body and turn into like a humanoid reptilian, or turn into like a giant dragon, or just even a human. I mean, spiritually, at one time, we've been known to be able to change it into like beautiful men or women and seduce people. So
Now, is that like an innate species ability, or is that technology?
it's an ability that we have, but it can only be used in astral. As for like physical, it's kind of, there's some appearances that can be altered, but you would need a lot of technology to do something like that. Mainly like a hologram or something that would be able to disguise your presence.
So you're saying as a race, you pretty much mastered being able to shapeshift astrally, like appear as any form that you want to,
Yeah.
but not in physical body. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lori. By the way, this is Lori.
Hi,
She
how are you doing?
wanted to join us tonight.
Nice to meet you.
And nice to meet you as well. I have a couple of questions. One is a question. One is actually a story that I have that I wanted to share with you and kind of get some perspective, because it's something that's always kind of confused me. But my first question is, is your race the only race that is able to walk in?
No. There are several different races that have the ability to do that. Any advanced race, even spiritual races such as demons, angels, fae, anything that is spiritually capable of going through a process of evolving spiritually into actually being able to go where they want in the afterlife can do it.
So, what would you describe as a demon? Or because a lot of people would say Draconians are demons.
The whole fear of Draconian being demons actually came from a Freemasonry theory due to long ago. It's also biblical too, which I can cover that later if you like. Demons in our theory are twisted elementals. You have elements of fire and elements of earth, things like that. These creatures are spirits that are ancient. They've been through the universe longer than any of us really have, and these creatures are also very, I want to say, some can be angry, others can just be twisted from so much negativity that's been thrown out in the universe over the years. And what they become is basically a spirit that either helps you or attacks you.
Okay. Lori, you had some more questions?
I just I have a story to share with you. I have two brothers. One is an older brother, and I have a younger brother. And years ago, my younger brother was over at my older brother's house, and my older brother was always kind of strange. He was a gamer. He studied a lot of different ancient civilizations and cultures and things like that, but he was just always, he was a storyteller. He was always very exaggerative about, everything was much bigger than it was, or much louder, more sweeter, whatever whatever his context of his story was. And one day my younger brother was over at my older brother's house, and he came across a book. And it was a book written in my older brother's hand, and it was a story about now my brother was born in 1970, my older brother, and he was born 2 months premature, and the story that he wrote in this book, it goes like this. I'll put it into his perspective and tell the story as though it were him speaking. When he was born in 1970, he died, and his body was taken over by a warrior of some kind, that during the Cold War that there were 12 other of these supers and super soldiers that were trained by different what's the word I'm looking for agencies, or people with whatever intentions that they have. But okay, so there's 12 of these warriors, and they're in a group, and all of them have come to this world, to this earth, the same way, and as you described, as a walk-in experience. And my brother also described a storage unit where, and I say that word, I don't mean it as like where you put your stuff when you're moving. I mean as a really bona fide research facility type place where there was a biotank where it fed, nurtured, nourished this suit of armor that gave him extraordinary sort of abilities or powers, like extra celerity, extra fast, extra agility and flexibility, and and that John had been training his whole life for this moment when he would wear this suit and come back and basically defend the earth against a gateway, where at that point there was also coordinates listed in. I mean, it was a crazy story, and my younger brother came to me and talked to me about it, and I didn't really know what to make of it. I thought it was fascinating and interesting, but really far out there. And this, like I said, was years ago. And more hearing these stories and things, with Don and Dan and being on this radio show, I wonder now if my brother, the person that I grew up thinking as my brother, was something much different. And I wanted to give you the story in as much detail as I could remember, because this is fascinating to me, and maybe possibly closer to home than I thought.
Yes, actually, it does sound quite like something else. I'm not exactly sure if he may be Draconian, or he could be a different type of species that walked into the body. But there's definitely something there that's special about him that really should have a lot looked into for it.
So that would seem familiar to you, like, doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility.
Oh yeah, it seems familiar.
Would you care to elaborate?
I had told you when we had last talked about the year 2020.
Right.
And about something happening during a couple of things I've undergone, such as past life regressions and different dream visions. I've been through dream states. A lot's going to be happening that year. Possibly it could be cataclysmic, it could be supernatural. I believe that actually this year, even on April 6th, there's supposed to be something supernatural happen, that the veil with the spirits is going to be opening pretty strongly, that they will be able to do anything they want. So I think that this is all leading up to this great event that possibly with what her brother is, what she said about her brother, is possibly all connected.
Do you think this is the same event that everybody else is talking about? Like,
I was just going to say, there's a lot of talk about some sort of cataclysmic or cosmic, or even cosmically cataclysmic event that's happening that we're basically on the crux of, and I'm really fascinated by this. Is it like an Armageddon type event, like that biblical description of the end of days and the chosen ones going here and there and the other ones being cast out and all this sort of stuff? Is it apocalyptic? Is it the battle of good and evil? Is it an asteroid destroying the planet? Is it a global killer? Is it an invasion? I mean, there's so many possibilities.
I wouldn't really label it as a complete all-out end. Maybe an end to something like an illusion or um, an age that, I mean, if you think about it now, when you look at how humanity has become, it's leading up to possibly the end of this age of man and their ways of how they're doing, and might have to go through a storm to come out and ascend to a higher plane of consciousness.
Could I suggest something else that, just as speculation or kind of food for thought, since that's really what we're doing here, is the Native Americans have a place in, I believe it's Arizona. It's called Prophecy Rock, and this thing is like old. It's like more than 1,500 years old. Back even before anything was, even remotely, it was still, they were doing things the way that the earth was telling them to do still. And there is, there's a lot of controversy over what the meaning of Prophecy Rock is, because it's just like anything Nostradamus. It's basically whatever a group of people come together and agree on is basically what that truth could become. And Prophecy Rock is basically, when you look at it, it's a rock, and it's a line, and it's a lifeline, because in ancient cultures, a lot of times when they did their glyphs, their glyphic writing, hieroglyphic or petroglyphic or whatever, it would move linear. It was kind of a linear direction. So basically, it shows this one line of like, basically when you look at it and you just let the energy of it kind of permeate through you, and you realize what there's a message there in a spiritual sense that maybe isn't obvious to most people, but to certain people maybe it could be if they were a little more sensitive than others, towards that sort of thing. So you look at this line, and it's like a lifeline kind of, and then at a certain point in this line there's a cataclysmic event that jolts this line into two distinct and separate directions, very distinct and separate directions. And one of them is death. It's the ultimate, it's the end of that lifeline doesn't continue, and that lifeline is picking up sticks against brothers, making war, lying and thieving and fear and warmongering. You know what I'm saying? These are the spiritual feelings that you get from this one line, and the other line seems to be more of a community, of a camaraderie, and of each other, hands down to help each other, fellow man up, sort of thing. And that is the direction of prosperity, peace and harmony, higher learning, advancement, evolution together. I recently read in a sacred text that I'm studying that we expect revolution, but the truth is what we really need is evolution. And when we talk about star seeds and things of that nature, that it's a defining moment in a sort of transcendental linear thing. It's sort of what is expected to happen is one moment makes the difference between exactly what you used to be and what you are becoming. And in that moment, you're no longer the thing that you used to be. And that's evolution. Most people are like, oh, revolution, fists in the air. It's not really about that. It's actually the opposite.
So, did you have anything in particular that you wanted to get out? Any particular message or, anything specifically that you maybe haven't talked about yet tonight?
Well, right now, what we're seeing, what humanity is going through, what we're observing is what humanity is. They are going through an age of kind of like a two-way thing, like she had said, but kind of like an age of awakening along with an age of delusion. One side can rise up, evolve, ascend, whatever you want to call it. The other side can fall, become the end of their own demise, basically. I myself and a couple others are looking into many different ways to basically help solve some of the problems going on. We have, which I can tell a little about, we have what we're calling Project Ascension, which is we're finding those who are of ability to have metaphysical purpose, metaphysical abilities, things like that, such as psychic abilities, empathy things, helping them shape themselves to evolve to a higher plane, away from the ones that want to stand around and fight over whose political party's better than whose, and just with how everything's going the opposite direction with society.
Now, is that a public project? You got a website or something like that you want to give out?
It's not really too public because of some of the things that we have to put out there that are, we call them seekers, but they're the ones that go and look for these people. We don't really publicize things like this because we are trying to actually help instead of trying to basically do what the other factions, the other sides are doing.
So how would you locate, I mean, if you can talk about it, how would you locate these people?
A great number of Draconians are energy readers. It's not a common ability. However, some of us can do where we can read energy, we can see your thoughts, we can feel how you're feeling, we can feel if something's going on with somebody. Sometimes sometimes we can even get into your mind and see, what's what. It's both a kind of a blessing, kind of a curse, and sometimes if it's with the wrong one, it can be a very, very bad danger. But a great number of those who are out looking for these are the ones that are capable of doing more than just standing around waving their clubs at each other over who's better than who. They know where to look and who to find, and a lot of times they will contact you by befriending you or just coming out and taking it one step at a time and letting you know that you have abilities or they know about you.
So this contact would come in a physical form, or would it be, an extrasensory thing?
It can be physical, it can be a dream, it can be even online.
So, forgive me if I asked you this already tonight. How many Draconians? What would you call yourself? Like like someone that's went through that process is now inhabiting a human body.
I still call myself Draconian. I don't really consider calling myself human, as to me it's kind of an insult, but I mainly just stick to calling myself Draconian.
So how many Draconians inhabiting a human body would you guesstimate to be here on Earth?
Estimating, I want to say, from recent numbers of what we've kept track of, about 177.
177?
Yeah.
What would you estimate the population of the Draconian homeworld to be?
Or is that even still around? Because you had said that there was an alien race.
It's in ruin. It's no longer around.
Well, what would you say?
How about the diaspora?
I want to say 1.5 million.
That's not a whole lot.
Yeah, it's not. How, at the Empire's peak, how many would you have estimated it would have been?
The Empire, I think we were about
How many worlds total do you think it controlled?
Yeah, if you don't know specific numbers, that's okay.
Yeah,
I
just
mean,
wild stabs.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything.
oh no, I'm not bothered. I'm just
There are no wrong answers.
as for total during the world, say we had 4 occupied in different star systems altogether. Estimated number while the Empire was still going was probably about 8 or 9 billion spread out through the 4. We didn't really have that large of numbers in certain areas due to the fact that we were kind of cut off from each other.
Now, was there like a genocide associated with this aggressive ET force that came in? Or,
Yeah.
So, what would you say the overall numbers would look like now? Was that the 1.5 number?
Yeah, around that. As I said, 3 of the 4 planets actually no longer really have that much life left on it.
Were they all in the same system or different systems?
Different systems. But the invasion actually took place starting in one system, which made it on to the others afterwards, because they not only attacked the Draconian, they also went after the Orion Empire, the Andromedas. They went after the ones that humans call not the gray alpha ones, but just the regular gray.
How far apart do you think that, the different star systems were? Like, how far did they go from the homeworld?
Yeah, that's a good question. What was the technology level like? I know you had mentioned the Stargate technology, but as far as ships, did you have faster than light drive? Was it a time manipulation thing, bending space? What was the technology level like?
We usually traveled in smaller ships, not really big ones. The larger ones tend to carry different areas of the Empire, such as civilians and things like that, from one area to another. The smaller ones are more used for military.
Like strike fighters, like,
Yeah.
get in, hit quick, and bounce.
So, do you know anything about what kind of drive technology they were using? Was it like a free energy source, or did it require fuel?
Dark matter.
Dark matter. And so it was a faster than light drive.
Yeah.
Now, I know a lot of our listeners out there are wondering how all this plays into the whole secret space program narrative getting put forth with Dark Fleet and, Nazi Draco collaborations. Do you have any input at all on that?
There may have been some Draconian that had worked with Nazis. I know that the Alpha Type 1 Gray actually did work with the Nazis, but...
Well, I think it was one of our Dark Fleet contacts that had mentioned that they'd encountered various species of reptilian aliens. So, besides the Dracos, I'm sure there, could be others that are working with Dark Fleet or the ICC.
See, those ones I have no association with, so I really,
Right.
And you
it's
mentioned
possible.
you'd mentioned that you're tired of the Draconians getting a bad rap, and that while it may be some species of reptilian aliens that are dressing themselves up like people like Queen Elizabeth and George Bush, it's not your species. And, this is definitely, the platform to make that case.
The Queen, Bush, and all them, they were basically some of the ones who collaborated with the destruction of the old empire.
Okay, so they would be. So they would be the traitors from Draco. So what did they get out of that? Did that transfer over to here to rule the planet? I mean,
Money, power,
Destroy one system to rule another.
basically. They're basically what we would have called now. We kind of denounce them as a Draconian. They're more of a people of the void. People's only purpose who's to come, destroy, leave, and destroy the next.
now would you say that they're aware of your kind here?
Oh yeah, I'm sure that they are.
So they're not necessarily going after you or anything.
Not yet.
But they know that these consciousness exchanges happen, that they do happen.
And then you're here on Earth.
Now, would the consciousness, is it anything like the way that, people in Dark Fleet and, the 20 and Back program have told us about how, they get their consciousness swapped out of their body into sort of a cybernetic clone of themselves to where they can be, die over and over and over again and keep coming back. Is that consciousness swap, do you think, in any way similar to the way your consciousness was swapped into a human body, or is it a completely different process?
I want to say that it can be similar, but it can be completely different. There's a number of ways that they can do it. They can forcefully take it. Like I said, another way is that what they do each year, actually, they can take a body of a willing or unwilling sacrifice. It's a ritualistic magic that they can bring forth a soul into that body and remove the other one.
Now, I would definitely, you definitely have me at ritualistic magic. Is there any part of that you'd care to expand upon? Because, I'd love to know what, magic from an off-world civilization would be like.
Well, there's the magic that we've actually taught several different humans we've come in contact with, but spiritually, Aleister Crowley, we've come in contact with him, helped him with the chaotic magic.
Well, hey, thanks. I'm a fan.
Some of the other forms, druidry, magic, necromancy, voodoo. A lot of the occultic systems actually come from Draconian and Palladian alike. These were the two races that are basically more occultic than all of the other races out there.
Well, and, we find out how, you have the Tree of Life from Kabbalah, for instance, that has 10, arguably 11 Sephiroth in this Tree of Life. And, it just so happens that in relation to Earth, from an Earth-based perspective, there's, 9, arguably 10 significant bodies in the solar system around us. So, the Tree of Life that we have in Earth Kabbalah mysticism, for instance, is based on the number of planets in our solar system. Would a system of magic from an alien solar system with a different number of planets, would that function differently?
Yeah, certain worlds, different worlds, the magics, the energy works, they all can work differently. I know that such like shamanism.
I reckon spirits are spirits wherever you go, right?
Yeah. It's just different different platforms, such as like you can have one planet that has a different element than another planet, or one planet that may have a soul of a kind of like this planet has the soul of the dryads, the forest spirits. Another planet may have a different type of spirit with similar qualities. It's kind of like even existing with certain features. Draconians, there's Draconians and the Greys, the Palladians, all them. The atmosphere, the physical realm of that planet is what makes your physical appearance as well.
Right. And like, according to Kabbalah, the reason Earth is special, in, at least according to us, and representative of Malkuth, is because it's the one planet in the solar system where Earth, fire, air, and water all exist in equilibrium. Whereas on all the other planets, there's some balance. Something's way out of balance. Venus has way too much fire. For instance, Mars has way too much elemental water.
Yeah.
Too much elemental earth.
Yeah.
Well, we've got about 10 minutes left of the show. I just want to say, if you're out there listening on the radio, if you got a question for Dragon or a comment, you want to call in, it's 757-525-3276. Just don't be rude, because I'll hang up on you.
Seriously.
All right, so moving on here. I guess we've got some scattered questions in our quay here. I don't know if we've really touched on all of this. Okay, so now you said that Draco's been involved. You touched briefly on the Mayan thing and all that. About how long would you say that you guys have been visiting Earth in one way or another?
I'd say the oldest visitations that had taken place was actually during the, I want to say probably right before the, not the Neanderthals, like shortly after the Neanderthal era.
Okay,
or
so
people want to call it.
So very long time.
Yeah.
Now, would you say the species that you were fighting with, would they be considered what they're calling the pre-Adamites now? Or is that something completely different? Because it's speculated that there's this older alien civilization, I'm assuming from this solar system, that's the ones that crash landed in Antarctica and have all that scattered technology down there. And they're billing them as the pre-Adamites. That's what they're calling them. I mean, call them whatever you want. Now, would you say that that was the race that you were at war with, or was it something completely different?
It's something completely different. The race that's in Antarctica are pretty much next to, I want to say, gods. They're very huge. They're frozen in time. They can't basically cause any further destruction.
Okay, so it definitely wasn't at war with the Draconian Empire.
Oh no, I'm pretty sure that they probably came after us too at one point.
Okay.
I have no knowledge of that one, but
now this rebirth that you had, did it entail a time displacement type thing? Like, when did the Draconian Empire fall? Was it instantaneously when you got transferred, or was there a large expanse of time as we would know it before, from you leaving your reptilian body to being put into the human body?
the Draconian Empire fell during the era on Earth, which was the medieval ages. So yeah, probably would have been from that time up until the 1992 when it happened.
What? And can you refresh us one more time on what really caused the Empire to fall?
There was an invasion from the first queen of the council, who collaborated with an outside enemy alien race that were metallic gray skin with copper eyes.
Were they tall, like the tall grays, or the short grays, or something different?
I'd probably say they'd probably be about 6 or 7 feet high.
So I'm assuming they were just technologically superior. Is how they are able to defeat you guys like that, or because I mean, the Dracos have obviously a reputation for being pretty brutal in combat.
They had a lot of technology, such as cloaking themselves, holographic imagery, turning themselves into things that basically looked like what was on the planet, such as plants, trees, animals, other Draconian. They didn't just come in off a ship and start shooting people up or anything.
Right.
It was basically they were already there. It's just that they were biding their time to do it.
Do you have any stories that you can remember of any particular battles that you'd want to share?
I remember the battle from the Orion system. It was, I think I've told part of that. It was, we were in these pods. They were kind of white with a egg shape in a way, with some blue on it. They were in a room. There was probably about 6 of us in that. We were experimented on. I do remember being put in a gray metal-like chair and having 2 very large needles put into each of my shoulders. And I was injected with like a blue and yellow liquid. We were implanted. We had it was in the head area, not the brain, but close to in behind the ear type. Well, that's what you call them ears. They're kind of like reptile ears, but we had been sent there to basically start a civil war with the Orion Empire, which inevitably happened due to the fact that even though some of us broke away and took over what we could and tried to escape, there was also a great many of us that were still under the control of these beings that basically ravaged the Orion Empire, made it look like that there was a betrayal in their leadership that caused a civil war that's actually still going on today.
So, what sort of beings were the Orions?
There's different types. We had the typical, as you can see in like the movies and things, the green Orions. They were humanoid. They had scales, actually. They weren't just like a solid green skin. There were the ones that looked like kind of similar to, I want to say, hermit crab like facial features, lobsters. There were even some that were kind of very bug like, kind of like insectoid area.
Have you ever encountered a mantid?
I have not, but I do know somebody that has had a personal experience with one.
Cool. Can you tell us anything about it?
He said that when he had come across one, he was out in the woods taking a walk, and he kept hearing like this loud chirping noise that didn't sound familiar, like to a normal insect. And he looked up in a tree, and there was this giant insect creature that looked kind of brown, sort of like a cricket, but this thing was probably about the size of a cougar or a mountain lion.
Wow.
Yeah, and he ran from it. But
what can you tell me about, like, do you remember anything about day-to-day life on Draconis Prime? Because I mean, obviously everybody actually, for that matter, I had a question about that too. We call our planet Earth. Like, what did you guys refer to your homeworld as?
So we had two different home worlds. We have one, the one that I come from was called Toolbox.
Tuvox?
Yeah, kind of sounds like Toolbox. I know it's Toolbox, T-U-L with the apostrophe B-U-X.
Gotcha.
This planet was actually on the borderline between Orion and another star system. It is not able to, you're not able to see it by the naked eye. You probably are now, considering that there's nothing there anymore, but it is.
Do you remember the name of the second homeworld?
The second one, though, I've not gone to that one.
Okay. Now, you had mentioned, just rewind it a little bit here, missed this question in the queue. You had told us in a previous conversation that you were intending on going somewhere else on Earth. Where was it that you were intending on going?
I was intending on going back to the Andromeda star system, looking for somebody who's still existent today.
Do you know how you wound up on Earth instead?
I had come here then, since I had never really encountered a human before. It was kind of different that who I encountered, because in the spirit realm, it's kind of hard to tell who's who, but humans and Andromedan spiritual beings kind of look a little bit similar depending on which color you go with. They do have like the tan Andromedans, and since Andromedans are actually closer to humans than a lot of the other races aside from Palladian and Nord, it's kind of hard to figure out who's who.
So, do you know if humans are genetically compatible? Like, could we breed with Pleiadians or Nords or, other humanoid type species? Are we somewhere back related, kind of like, was alluded to in Star Trek?
I think that humans are actually compatible with quite a few different races. I don't know, DNA-wise, it's really hard to tell due to the fact that a lot of humans have, there's certain civilizations that have links that go with alien races, such as a couple of races of human have the RH blood line, a couple have the PL, the AN, and different ones like that.
Now, you said that the Draco don't pass over the same way that we do, and that you went to inhabit this human body. So now when this human vessel dies, do you get to pass over, or do you get stuck back into the...
I was going to, allude a question of that nature. Like, what is dying for a walk-in? Are you just here for a matter of time to, sort of bring your gifts and help the species understand what they're here for, to make the best version of themselves, by proxy, making the best version of this world that it can possibly be, by our actions, cause and effect, and things like that. So, do you go back somewhere? Like, are you, you said that you didn't take it as a punishment when you walked in to the teenager's body, but, like, how long are you going to be here? And when this body, with the vessel or host that you're in, dies, what happens to you? Because, if you're long-lived. And then it also runs into the question, how old are you, and how much longer, what's the lifespan, typical lifespan of people of your race, and things like that.
How old am I body-wise now, or spiritually?
Both, yeah.
Both. Right now, the body itself is approximately 32, give or take. I don't know, I don't keep track, but spiritually I am about as old as the earth itself.
So what happens to you after your human body dies? Do you get to try again to get to Andromeda?
I go on to the next one.
So you reincarnate as a human again?
Yeah.
No, I go wherever I.
Okay, so you may have a
intend
chance
to go, yeah.
to get to Andromeda again.
So is this
Yeah.
a learning experience for you or a teaching experience?
A little bit of both, actually. Being here, though, another thing too is I think that the reason why I had also been chosen to be here by our divine was because of the fact of what happened on Mars, and I think that that's what is possibly leading up to here if we can stop it.
So what happened on Mars?
On Mars was also a reptilian, but also gray and a couple other inhabited world. It blew up basically because they were experimenting with nuclear technology, nuclear weaponry, and what had happened was it got out of control. They had a massive meltdown, pretty much decimated the whole planet. Those who survived either went underground or realm hopped to a different location.
Okay. Well, we are coming up on the end of the show. I'd like to thank you again for coming on, spending the time with us.
Most definitely.
You're more than welcome to come back anytime you want.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Did you have any final thoughts that you wanted to get out there before we end?
Final thoughts I have is that, like I said, we live in an age of awakening, an age of delusions, whatever you call it, of humanity on this planet. Be aware of your surroundings. Look into what is actually taking place instead of taking sides of a political party or religious faction or, something like that. Open your mind to greater possibilities than just what you are seeing or being told day to day on this planet. And as for those who trolled me throughout this whole segment, I'm sorry that you don't believe in what I have to say. I'm not trying to force you or ask you or tell you even to believe in me, believe that I'm reptilian or anything, but it's up to you and what you want to believe. It's not my place. I know what I am. I know what I'm here to do. And there's a lot of fear mongering out there, such as there's certain things that have been put out about us. There's things that people have been doing, putting online in articles, calling us evil and things like that, demons and what have you.
Well, I think it's because a lot of people on this planet are, of the opinion that their governments are being controlled, by shadowy forces from beyond their understanding. And, they've mistakenly conflated your species with the ones that are doing this. So,
Well, that's the first thing you do to divide and conquer people is make them afraid of each
blame
other.
the other guy.
Well, it's like you said, too, we haven't gotten past our whole racism thing yet. People
Right.
can't seem to understand that there's bad and good actors in any race, whether it be different human
Yeah.
races or
Off-planet or
ET
on-planet.
races.
Right, exactly.
Yes, and it's true. I mean, there's a lot of fear mongering out there, a lot of people that are actually being paid to tell you, well, this is going on, and really it's not exactly what they're saying. And I mean, there's some that help, and there's some that actually do a lot more hurt. I mean, human race itself, along with racism, they're also a majority of them are very one-sided. They see one thing, and that's the way it's supposed to be. There's no two sides to the coin, and so they don't fully quite understand what good and evil really is, and that's where it kind of hurts them in a way too. But I guess,
And as for the trolls, don't worry about that. They're everywhere. You can't get rid of them.
Yeah.
we could be talking about brownie recipes
People are
and they'd be
afraid
in
of
there
what-
trolling.
Yeah, people are afraid of what they don't understand.
Yeah, so I wouldn't put too much stock in that. I mean, that's just the way it is. But we do have to jet, and like I said, thank you once again for being on the show, and we'd love to have you back anytime
Yeah,
you want to come
I
talk
was
about
gonna
something.
say I'd be very interested in having a part 2. It's been really
Okay.
really wonderful talking.
Right, and thank you for having me.
It was nice meeting
Not
you.
a problem. Thanks, Dragon. We'll talk to you
Absolutely.
soon.
All right, see you later.
So, what'd you guys think of that?
That was fascinating. It really was. It was, made me think about things from perspectives I hadn't even considered before.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I never quite heard a story like that before.
Never as calm and
Don't you
just
hate when you think of
very melodic, like answering questions. There was no weird, awkward, pauses that would sort of allude to any kind of treachery or deception at all. Like I didn't,
I would say he was very measured in his responses. He did take his time with some
He
things,
was
but
very measured. Yeah,
I would
that doesn't
imagine.
necessarily mean he's deceiving people, though.
No, I would imagine if you're trying to recall something from a past life, it would probably be pretty difficult.
Yeah, a little fuzzy.
From a previous,
Just a little
right.
fuzzy.
And what sort of technology, whether it was spiritual or
Well,
a mechanical nature or whatever,
What
was
I
in
got
place
out
for
of
that
it-
for something like that to happen. I mean,
what I got out of it is what he was saying is it's a metaphysical phenomenon.
yeah.
And instead
you're
of
talking about godly
Well,
kind
that
of
just-
things here.
instead of-
metaphysics, magic, whatever.
instead
of-
same thing.
instead of dying and just reincarnating like we allegedly do, his race gets to choose where he goes. Somehow something down the line screwed up and he got stuck here on Earth. But fortunately, from what he was saying, he'll get another shot out of it, so maybe he'll be able to hook up with his
it's
Andromedan
just
friend.
fascinating. I would really like to have further discussion about other subjects. Like their spirituality, their not necessarily a magical system, because it's probably much different than anything we know of.
Well, was he
But
telling
I'm
it? Was,
I just
definitely
wanted to ask him
interested.
if he thought demons smelled funny.
I'm sure he
Definitely
does.
interested.
Yeah, like the Vulcans.
Especially when he was talking about clairvoyance and empathic abilities
Like
and unknown.
Oh yeah, how Spock had ESP and telepathy and stuff.
Now, was he telling the truth? I don't know. I'm open to the possibility. Definitely. Do I think was he trying to deceive people, or did he believe it? I think he believed it. I don't think he's trying to deceive anyone. Like I said, as far as it being true or not, there's no proof. Any of these types of things that we cover on this program, there really is no physical evidence for. It's, you kind of got to take it for what it is. Like I said, I'm totally open for the possibility. Can I say with 100% without a doubt that this type of thing happens? No, I can't. But I can't say it with 100% without a doubt. I'm open to that possibility. But
Too much of it hits close to me for me to just shrug it off and say, all of the possibilities here are non-existent, because it's just not. It can't. And my brother's story was far-fetched and unlikely to be understood, and over the time that's passed. And it's not really about my brother's story. It's more about questions that rise up about, like he was talking about these empathic abilities and clairvoyance and other.
all right, well, we do got a jet. That's it for the broadcast, guys. We'll see you